My earliest family, my earliest memory of Hanukkah was when I turned 5 years old. It was my favorite holiday. I was the only child in a large Orthodox family in Poland. It was just before the World War II. Our home was the gathering place for my entire family, a home that was large enough to hold everyone, and my mom was an excellent hostess, cook, and baker. Years before, when I was born in the US, my mother had become an American citizen, and she made sure that I was born in the United States. My father, who had arrived a few years later, still could not meet the terms and the requirements before he could become a citizen. Since they lived in the US during the Depression, my father could not find work, and my parents decided to return to Poland to join their large family, both my mother's and father's. But back to the Hanukkah celebration when I was 5. I could not sit still, so I would jump up and down on the sofa and crawl under the table, and even though I fell asleep, my mother would scold me for my fun activities. On that holiday, as always, my father would take my side, telling everyone, she's only a child and she's restless. My father was my hero. He was always on my side and enjoyed whatever I did, and if I made mistakes, he would always laugh. My mother and I managed to leave Europe and return to the US 6 months before the attack on Pearl Harbor. My father, still in Poland, had planned to join us later. As soon as he received his immigration papers, my mother hoped to send him, but the papers did not arrive in time, and he no longer was free to leave Poland for the US, which now was at war on both sides, the European and the Japanese fronts. Before the war was ended and before he could reach the safety of the US to be reunited with me and my mother, my dear father was murdered by the Nazis. But I am glad. I have always in my heart the treasured memory of my father at that Hanukkah celebration when I was only 5. I now would like to end my Hanukkah message with this children's poem I found on the internet, but echoes my own feelings as a young child. It's titled, Hanukkah Means Fun and Freedom. It's called the Festival of Lights, a holiday lasting for 8 nights, when Jewish people celebrate the land they had to celebrate, to liberate. Remembering the time was song. If you know the words, you can sing along. Or grab a dreidel, spin it fast, and see how long that top can last. Eat some latkes with a salty taste. Don't let even one go to waste. But don't forget the holiday glee. This is a story of a fight to be free. Thank you.
Well, this is entitled My Hanukkah Memories. Bittersweet, just like I like my chocolate. I grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida in the late 1950s and 60s as an only child. My Jewish parents were strong believers in instilling a very strong sense of Judaism, the religion, as well as its cultural aspects. I went to Hebrew school in a conservative temple 2 days a week after regular school, and of course attended religious services as well as Sunday school. I had a bar mitzvah and a communion ceremony, and even recently saw one of my Jewish friends from back then at my 50th high school reunion. Daytona was a curious mix of both native Floridians' sensibilities, a la Jim Crow, and more diverse, liberal, transplanted Yankees. This was a time of political and social incorrectness. The Jewish community was quite small, less than the current membership at UUC. Therefore, in the neighborhood where I grew up, there were a ton of kids, but I was the novelty act, albeit in a negative sense, the only Jewish kid. I provide this background as information to you as a pretext to my early Hanukkah memories, as my devoted and loving parents, Sylvia and Leo, tried to help me balance the wonder years of my Jewish American assimilation, Southern style, with an appreciation of my Jewish heritage. Certain childhood memories of Hanukkah remain, of course, the gift giving. One giant gift that counted for all 8 nights, or instead, 8 smaller gifts, one to be opened each night. The recipient's dilemma. Other nice memories include my mother cooking the potato pancakes, the latkes, getting gelt, which was money, but this money in reality was milk chocolate wrapped as gold foil coins of several different denominations. Lighting the candles of my maternal grandmother's brass menorah, with it subsequently glowing brightly in our home's front window, while its built-in music box played the Jewish Rock of Ages that we heard Rachel sing. We would sing a few other holiday songs and, of course, play the dreidel game. Back to the gift giving. Due to the disconnect of the lunar solar Jewish calendar and the solar-based Julian calendar, the major and minor holidays jump around quite a bit in relationship to Christian holidays, most notably the timing of the 8 days of Hanukkah. For example, this year, it's starting in late November. My parents were acutely aware that in many years, Hanukkah started before or fell completely outside of Christmas Day. Therefore, to help me deal with peer pressure and social acceptance, one gift was held out for Christmas Day, even if I had opted for the 8-day big gift special. That gift was never put underneath a Hanukkah bush. That was a strict no-no on Christmas Eve, but rather it was placed under our colonial antique dining room table so I could discover it early on Christmas morning. In this way, I remember not only our family's fun in eating traditional foods during Hanukkah, but also getting to be involved in receiving a gift on Christmas Day. When I was inevitably asked by the other kids, "What did you get for Christmas?" I always had an ace up my sleeve of something that was not previously seen or known by them. I remember trying to wait patiently for all of my neighborhood Christians' friends' families to unwrap their gifts on Christmas morning, have their brunch, and get dressed, etc. I would head out to see their loot at a suitable time, often defined by events such as a new bike ridden by my best friend Mark whizzing by my house, or neighborhood kids out in their yards screaming at the top of their lungs into their Junior Ranger walkie-talkies something, and then saying the ever-important over. When you grow up Jewish in a relatively small southern town, you have to learn to ignore some pretty ignorant comments about your religion, and thus about you personally. You needed to be resourceful so as to fit in day by day, and especially during the Christmas holiday season. I personally think the rabbis and parents decided especially in the 1960s, Jewish children needed a holiday to match Christmas, and hence Hanukkah, a relatively minor holiday, was elevated to be a major assimilation holiday event. And I'm okay with that.
If you drove down the street where I grew up in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, during the winter holiday season, you would notice that half the houses on the block were decorated with Christmas lights, and the other half had menorahs in the windows. Except my house. It had zilch, nada, nothing, no holiday lights or decorations of any kind. My atheist family of Jewish heritage was very anti-religion and only celebrated birthdays and anniversaries. Oh, there would be a nod to our Jewish heritage here and there, especially in the kitchen. My mom made a terrific chicken soup with knedel. Knedel is Yiddish for matzah balls. And we ecstatically gorged ourselves on her matzah brie, which is scrambled eggs with matzah. But no religious symbolism, no rituals, no prayers, no stories, no songs. But what really bothered me was no presents. I mean, the Italian Catholic kids on my block all got Christmas presents, and the Jewish kids, not to be outdone by the Gentiles, got both presents and Hanukkah gelt, which Michael had explained to you before. Gelt means money in both Yiddish and Hebrew. So you get it either as real money or foil-covered chocolate coins. My brother and I, at best, got chicken soup. But I also felt left out socially. The other kids would talk about stuff going on in their churches and synagogues, and I wasn't a member of anything. Then as an adult, people meeting me and knowing I was Jewish assumed that I knew all about the holidays and typical Jewish stuff, and I knew practically nothing. After becoming a mother, living on Long Island, I felt our family should have more of a connection to our Jewish heritage. Our son was young, so I first wanted to learn about the holidays celebrated at home, like Hanukkah and Passover. I bought children's books and audio tapes so we could learn the stories and songs. I started studying Judaism with an outreach program of the Chabad Orthodox Jewish community called Project Identity, designed to bring secular Jews like me back into the fold. Then I discovered Reconstructionism, a small branch of Judaism that has a humanist, non-supernatural definition of God. I now think of it as Jewish UU. The rabbi there told me they consider the Bible as saga, not actual history. However, many conservative Jewish traditions in the service are kept, including singing the prayers in Hebrew, so members could visit a synagogue anywhere in the world and feel at home. It's like UUC members attending another UU congregation and hearing Spirit of Life or Blue Boat Home. You feel like you're home. I joined the choir at the Reconstructionist synagogue and learned how to sing in Hebrew. We sent our son to the Hebrew school, and he was very reluctantly bar mitzvahed there. So he at least knows the religion he's rejecting as a culturally Jewish atheist. I did my job. Then we moved to Manhattan. Our son went off to college, and I discovered Community Church of New York Unitarian Universalist right around the corner from our apartment. One day I walked by their outdoor bulletin board and read a sign about a free performance, a free concert of Duke Ellington's sacred concert that coming Sunday. And another small notice that the church had a volunteer choir and was always open to new members. So I called the choir director about joining the choir, and he said, fine, come down to rehearsal on Saturday and you can sing with us in the concert on Sunday. I said, you gotta be kidding. And he said, no, you'll be fine. And he was right, because he was a wonderful choir director, Jerry Brown, in New York. Being in New York City, about a quarter of the members were of Jewish heritage. They held a community Passover Seder and a Hanukkah service every year, both of which I got heavily involved in. During Hanukkah services there, I sang the Hanukkah candlelighting blessing, just like I did here today. I'm very grateful that my spiritual path has enabled me to bring my Jewish heritage to enrich our diverse Unitarian Universalist community. After moving down here and joining UUC, I was inspired to write this song about what it means to be a Junitarian. And I'll be happy to sing it for you now. We are Junitarian, Junitarian. We can't help being Jewish, it's in our DNA. We're Jew by blood, no matter our beliefs or if we pray. Jews share a common history and food and holidays. We truly like gefilte fish, and matzah brie is so delish, and so's a knish. But while our ancestry is Jewish, our hearts are in UU. Our politics progressive, so we fit right here with you. We are Junitarian, and maybe humanist, atheist too, with a little chutzpah. And if you don't know what chutzpah means, it means colossal nerve. Thank you.